Hello, you are listening to Podium with me, Katie Smith, Rich Newman, Hannah England. We're all back in town this week. Back in town? Well, we're not in any of the same towns. We're in 3 different towns.
Very rarely in the same town.
No. Actually, have we ever, all 3 of us, been apart from in Tokyo? Maybe. Oh no,
I was going to say not in Britain.
Nanjing.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
We've never all been knowingly. Actually, we were all in Birmingham at the same time, and we didn't see each other. That was the most ridiculous thing, wasn't it, for the British champs, where we're all in there for the first time since we started the podcast, and we couldn't find a way to all meet up together.
That was because I was meant to come, but then Nancy, my daughter, had been such a state on the Saturday. I messed that up because I didn't come on the Sunday,
and I messed up Saturday.
And you weren't there on a Saturday.
Yeah, so I'm piecing out. I'm not taking a toddler to.
Well, I was going to say that's kind of been the theme of your week a bit. This week, hasn't it? We've all had quite sort of chaotic weeks, I think. Yours has been dog and child led, right?
Just chaos. Just, when it rains, it pours. Yeah. Dog, a sick dog and a sick 2-year-old. Just totally. And then her birthday at the end of it.
Aww.
So it was drastically, desperately trying to get her ready for her birthday. That then she just about held it together. But yeah, if anyone's got or had a 2-year-old, imagine the meltdown and then just intensify that. That's what it was. Yeah.
Oh,
such a shame.
But it's all right. She's back at nursery today. She might make it a full day. Who knows?
We are
waiting for that phone call.
Holding out hope. Whereas Rich, you've got a new addition to the family this week.
Yeah, just a cat. But it's...
I know, that is the most exciting. Sorry, I made it sound like a baby, didn't I? I've just realised.
Yeah, you did, yeah. Just a 10-month-old baby. 10-month-old Zeus the cat. Zeus the cat. It's a rescue cat.
But we've already nicknamed him. What's your daughter called him?
Zeusy Boosey. That's why
it's catchy.
That's why it stuck, because that was what the home gave him. So that's been quite fun. Managing a 5-year-old, nearly 6-year-old's expectations of what a cat can do that's not a dog is kind of the biggest issue, really. And that's on top of, it's been a busy week. I've been doing some very random commentaries, football-wise.
Oh, what's the most random of all of them?
What's the most random of all of them? Well, probably Gang 1 against Vissel Kobe in the AFC Champions League. But that's just one of them. So it's been trying to get my head around.
Oh, is this to come? Oh, it's to come. Oh, brilliant.
No, I've done it. That was actually,
okay.
To be fair,
didn't you listen? You were listening,
I'm gutted.
I mean,
it's been a big week. I've just told you, it's been a hectic week at my house.
It was a really good game, actually. So one team went 3-0 up, the other team came back to 3-3, and then the team that was 3-0 up scored in stoppage time to make it 4-3 and wins. Actually, it was a brilliant game.
That's great.
Which is exactly what you want. And then on top of that, training's starting to get really good now for Malaga. Did back into the 20 miles for the long runs, and I think it probably felt like the easiest 20 mile I've ever done, which is a good place to be. And then we don't go down from here, I think, through till next 6 weeks of...
I was going to say, have you figured out how many weeks it was? Because last week we weren't
sure. No, we just always take one off of the last week that we said it, don't we?
7
I don't know. 2, 3,
really
4,
totally
5,
miss
6. 6 and a bit, 6.5 weeks.
All right, get your taper right, because we don't want to be saying it's in 3 weeks' time and then suddenly it's next week and you haven't tapered, because...
That sounds more like something I would do.
Start training.
Have I told you I've signed up for Manchester Half Marathon again next year? I might actually do it this time.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So long.
Nice.
Long journey to go.
Yeah. You've been on presenting duty this week, so haven't you? You were on. You went to a Lionesses match on Saturday.
Yes,
and then...
I watched England. So first game back since they won the Euros, lost 2-1 to Brazil. It was a bit of a weird game, actually. Brazil 2-0 up, and then such a stupid red card. So they played with 10 for about 70 minutes or something. But they're the host of the next Women's World Cup, so actually quite a good opportunity to play them. They're really quite a good young side now. And then I had a bit of a horrible thing yesterday on so I was covering for Colin Murray does a show 10 till 12 on 5 Live in the morning, and I was covering that for the first time, and we do an hour in the second hour of the show called the Football Brunch, and it's kind of like the warm up to the Premier League weekend. So we kind of talk through the main points, and I had 3 guests with me. And you two know how allergic I am to these sorts of recording platforms, and my microphone never works, and we always have to take 20 minutes at the start or an hour to sort it all out. I was asked to add myself to the Zoom so that I could see all the... Sorry, I could see... I was turning into a long story. I could see all the contributors. They couldn't see me. So the producer asked me to add myself to the Zoom, and for some reason that kicked all of them off the line, and they couldn't dial them back in. So I did 10 minutes on national radio with no guests. You should genuinely listen back. It's from about 11:30, and I start going through the texters, and I'm just begging people to text in, so I've got something to
Oh my God.
Please say hi. Anyone want to phone in? Anyone?
I was like, at least I've learned. I think maybe commentary practice has taught me that I always have something to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always good to have something.
Yeah, that was my week. Yeah. So anyway,
did you start talking about Ruth Chepng'etich?
We've got loads.
Drugs ban, because that would have been something.
Yeah.
You know what? No, someone did text
audience
in and said, let's talk about our favourite sporting moments. And I was about to go off on a London 2012 kind of monologue, but then one of my guests did pop back up. So we talked about Man United instead, naturally.
London 2012 always comes back up, doesn't it? I had a discussion the other day about whether London 2012 generally was when Britain peaked for all of us, and we'll never get it. We'll never go anywhere near
royal weddings, all that.
That's going a bit too deep on a different conversation.
I mean, for me, yes, I peaked then. You know, athletically, emotionally.
You peaked a year before, Hannah.
I did.
There's loads to talk about today, isn't there? Because there's Ruth Chepng'etich, who we're going to get into, and New York Marathon, and Valencia Half. Actually quite a lot of stuff to get into today, isn't there?
Yeah, and I'm sort of glad that we could have like this slightly lighter start, because I think it will feel, this first bit that we're going to talk about is going to feel quite heavy and quite newsy, but it's really important we talk about it. It happened a few days ago, but we've kind of been like waiting for this, I guess. And I think it's something, you know, anyone listening along will share our sentiment on this. It's really sad for the sport, and it's quite difficult to listen to, and it feels like the story isn't quite over as well. So we're talking obviously about Ruth Chepng'etich, and she's had this 3-year ban now confirmed by the AIU, sorry. Do you think we should start maybe by going through the timeline a little bit and trying to figure it out? I know, Rich, you've been really into this and kind of like going into the details. So shall I kind of hand to you first, and we can kind of like guide our way through?
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to go through, point by point, but like if we just sort of summarize the timeline, the really interesting thing about this story is the evidence that we have been shown, that she was shown throughout the case, which also meant that the story, it seemed, her story kept on changing. And the other point before we go through all of this is that the story is not over, because the AIU has said that they will continue to investigate the evidence that we're going to be talking about in a minute. So the investigation continues, but there's enough right now to ban Ruth Chepng'etich after she admitted the use, whether she intentionally, for a different reason, which we'll come to, or a diuretic, and that is called hydrochlorothiazide.
Well done.
HCTZ is how it's abbreviated. So banned for 3 years, given a 4-year ban, reduced by a year. That is because she admitted her guilt. The positive test came 5 days after she competed in the Lisbon Half Marathon. That Lisbon Half was only 1:06:20. She had set a marathon world record in October last year of 2:09:56. So it's a slower half and a weird performance. And there was another weird 10K performance, I think, as well before that. So court 5 days suspension. We knew about the provisional suspension, which came out in July. So this is how the timeline looks. On the 16th of April, Chepng'etich struggled to give a reason, and her phone was copied. Fast forward a couple of months to July, she was shown evidence which sort of rose suspicion that the positive test was intentional. She sort of said, she's been shown like she sort of said like, these are all the supplements I've been taking, all the medication I've been taking. And they came back, asked all the experts, and they went, well, there's no way that this actually can't get contaminated that in that big quantity. There could have been contamination, but it traces.
But so this diuretic, it is one that is quite commonly it does end up in other medications, but there's like a threshold. There's a threshold value that allows for that contamination. Yeah, and that's why you have to get over that threshold for it then to be a ban, because there is this sort of like background thing of accepting it might turn up in other things. So I can understand why someone would clutch at straws and say, well, please check all my medication, because they'd hope that it would turn up. But you're right, the values blow that excuse out of the water. Yeah, and I think that's why she changed their story.
Yeah, and let's come back to that in a minute, because there has been a trace in a previous test that didn't meet the threshold, which is which is also suspicious. So on the 31st of July, so we're talking 2.5, 3 weeks later, she changed her story again, and she said that she'd been ill, and she took some medication that her housemaid was using, because she'd had symptoms of sweating, weakness, and tachycardia, which apparently was the same as her housemaid was having. The AIU looked at it and went, "This is hardly credible," is the phrase that they
love
used.
that. I love the quote, "hardly credible." Yeah. It's the politest way to say BS, isn't it?
Yeah. So what has happened from there is they've actually gone, the AIU then have reason to double what could have been the lower sanction. So if they had found no way of, if she's like, "I genuinely don't know, this pretend it's evidence where we're going to come to doesn't exist," which is on her phone. This is why she has changed her story, because she's been presented with evidence that sort of shows there's some very suspicious material, starts to raise the suspicion even more. And so she has to then find a reason she has to tell a story. Let's say right now that that's true, because that's what the IU have gone with at the moment. Okay, that's what she's been banned for. She's been banned on the basis of this story that she's given and the positive test that she's got. But because she took this medication without checking it, that has been shown as reckless because you didn't do your homework, and intentional because you knew what you were taking, right? Okay, so she's tried to treat herself.
And that's why, like, one of the big things about drugs bans and the rules is like 100% liability. Like, you are totally liable for what you're putting in your body.
Yeah,
and it's your responsibility to check that's okay. You can't just say, "I didn't know it wasn't allowed." You should be checking that everything is allowed. That's where that kind of
Can I ask you, Hannah, from your perspective then, through your career, knowing that, like, how stressful did you find that side of things? Or is it is it because, or do you are you like, "I know exactly these are my safety net substances, and like I would never stray away from it"? Or are you having to look at new things all the time and just be like,
you're double and triple checking. Yeah, we had Alan Baxter in the UK who had a drugs ban because he bought a same brand in for a Winter Olympics when he was abroad in North America, and then failed. That's the kind of message that was told to me the whole time I was growing up. Just because Lemsip in the UK is okay doesn't mean Lemsip somewhere else is. You have to triple check, and you are. It's like, I don't know where to, like if you're flying and you're continually checking what gate you're at or what time you're boarding because you don't trust yourself that you've remembered it. It's literally that. You check it in the pharmacy and you go, "That's allowed." You get home and you go, "Well, I'll just check it again." And then you take it, and then an hour later you're like, "Well, I'll just check it again. Like, now it's in my body, I'll crack," and because you just get so stressed about it. But that's, I've had very good education from UK Anti-Doping, and 100% Me is a program we have in the UK. I have a great, I've been really supported through that as an athlete, and it's not the same in every federation to have that support and that education, which is one of the issues around education. There are a number of issues to why doping happens, and you have to acknowledge that sort of awareness and education is sort of a pitfall as well.
So where we're at with this part of the story, because I think the more interesting part is the next bit, okay, is that the reckless and intentional...
I think it's interesting what you articulated there, the whole idea that if they'd found it and she'd never said anything, it's probably a 2-year ban.
Yeah.
But because she's come up with a story that this is what I love about AIU and WADA. If they sniff a lie, that's it. 4 years, bang, you're out of here.
But I think, I mean, that there has to be an excuse for the story, because then suspicion is being raised by the evidence that's been shown to her. And at face value right now, we have to go with that. Okay. So that's the story. It raised the level to reckless and intentional. She got given a 4-year ban. She admitted that she'd done it, and that she'd done that because from that story. And so because the admission, that goes from 4 to 3, rather than someone that would carry on fighting their case, someone like Shelby Houlihan, who continually denies wrongdoing. So she took the 4-year ban because she didn't want to admit guilt. And as far as we know from her point of view, she still doesn't admit guilt. Now, what is interesting from that is that you go through the whole statement, and people that are listening to this have probably seen all this anyway. So I think it's more important to talk about like what could happen yet, how we feel about everything. The results that have been, the results are just from, it doesn't take anything away from her world record, because this is the ban test. She failed a test in March, and so it starts from March. Now, in the report, the full report, there are images that have come from WhatsApp messages, and some of these are a bit odd as well, because they're not just found I found, I don't know if maybe people have sort of said this, it's not just actually in a a message, it's a screen grab sometimes. She's taken a screen grab of an image and then of a chat. The chat doesn't exist necessarily anymore for some of these things. Now, she was presented this evidence on the 11th of July. So this is before the story changes. And in these messages, the first has a picture of a testosterone vial. It's been forwarded on to her. A name is redacted, but someone is asking, someone was told about it, so he asked me to ask you how it works. Now, she says, didn't respond to it. She may have unintentionally screenshotted the image, denied ever using testosterone, doesn't know why she was sent it. So that's a red flag. Then she was showing messages from 2022, 2023, 2025. One is a message that she received. One is just a straight message. Two are screenshots. And they relate to unidentified third parties working on programs that look like they're related to doping. Again, can't explain it. Chepng'etich says they were unsolicited, misunderstood, or forwarded unintentionally. Okay, so again, no idea why I keep getting sent all these photos of vials and being asked like how to use them. I don't. It's someone's continuously, multiple people are continuously asking the wrong, getting the wrong number. So that is another red flag. She says they could have come from group chats. And then there's another image of a different substance, Anavar, which is an anabolic steroid, works very similar to testosterone. Again, similar excuse. Don't know why. I honestly can't explain it. So that is where we are. And the AIU say they will continue to, the phrase is, will continue to investigate the suspicious material recovered from Chepng'etich's phone to determine if any other violations have occurred. Now, just before we move on, the other point I just want to make before we get into this discussion about what could happen next and how disappointed we are about the world record still standing and what could happen next, is this trace of HCTZ from the 28th of February. So that's just before she failed the test, 2.5 weeks before she did the Lisbon half. But that trace, and remember, it's the science behind doping and cheating is so advanced now. You can time these things like perfectly to by the time you get to a doping test, the trace levels can be lower. You're trying to gamble with how, if you're intentionally cheating, and let's just say this is a blanket everyone, if you're intentionally cheating, you could take something when you least expect to get a doping test, and then to try and sort of time the fact that when someone does knock on your door, you never know, but you've realized patterns or something like that, that the positive test is not going to, the test is not going to show up enough of a trace to get you into any kind of trouble. That can happen. So that's how scientific you can be with these now.
Like real developments, I think, in anti-doping in the last 10 or 15 years that I loved was that introduction of the biological passport. That came in when I was competing, and this idea that you might never find the EPO in their system because they're being smart or they're microdosing, but you can spot, disproportional changes in red blood cell count, and which wouldn't be able to happen naturally unless you had kidney failure, or these changes can only be caused artificially. That was a great introduction. And then I think that pushed people away. People got smart to that. And then the next thing that I love that the AIU seem to be doing is this targeted testing. If they smell a rat and they think they don't like something they're seeing, they will go after that person. And you can see from the timeline there for Chepng'etich, the number of tests she had leading up to that failure. It's bang, 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 bang. And in my mind, it's almost like you see that trace and you're like, right, like that's given me suspicion. They get almost like policemen, like investigators. They get, and that's the level. That's what I like, because I feel like historically it was almost like, we'll just test people regularly, and you would almost like, I got tested last week, I probably won't get tested again for 3 weeks, or I'll get tested at that competition, but then I'll be all right. And
that's kind of what I was thinking
now,
Hannah, because it's like we have to go at the moment with what has been proven in terms and what the AIU has actually settled on, right? As in, like, they've basically taken the story that Ruth Chepng'etich has given about the housemaid has given them a reason to ban her. Okay. Now they quite clearly feel that the rest of it, she's not answered the question appropriately enough, and the investigation will continue as to what all the rest of this means and how they can go through. And the blood and the blood passport you're talking about, Hannah, biological passport, that's going to play a part as we go on.
People they seem to kind of have a sympathy for, oh, she's only failed for diuretic. She's not failed for a steroid here. Like, why? I love the sophistication that they are banning things that will mask that level of control. But to you do feel like it's less severe because she's not failed for something kind of obtruse like testosterone?
No, because I think Rich already pulled out the statement. Like, I've highlighted it in red on our document because I just thought it was so. This is the key, right? Is like the statement says the AIU will continue to investigate the suspicious material recovered from her phone to determine if any other violations have occurred. That screams to me that there is so much more here. And like Rich obviously talked through the photos and everything. None of it adds up, which, like you were saying,
none of
Hannah,
it's been
pardon.
No.
So, what did
Yeah,
you say, Rich?
but that's it. No, none of it has been explained. It's just I don't know. Like, it's quite clear that's not a good enough excuse. So it has to go back to it. And that's what I'm saying about the AIU, I think, because they've done right, you've given us a really quick reason to ban you. Now we're going to continue to look into it.
But what I love is that so go, Katie, you go.
Well, no, I think to conclude on that point you were making is like, yes, she's been banned for the diuretic, which, okay, that's not the actual problem. But if we're reading into everything, a masker of something means I think there's an absolute potential mountain of other stuff that just hasn't yet been uncovered, or like Rich says, actually explained. And the thing with this, the kind of sophistication of how people can get away with this stuff now means that these, like, the people testing them, the AIU, the people running these investigations are not stupid, but they just don't always have the systems to be absolutely up to date. But they can do things like this, and I think that's so important that they have clearly made this a real statement of intent that, like, we're not done here.
And the point I was going to say, sorry, Hannah, is like, I wonder whether from your point of view, from an athlete, just the point that I was going to make, that I sort of lost my train of thought when I was going through that, is that we have to go through that story, etc., etc. But she would have been, the fact she's tested 5 days after the Lisbon half, I think feels like quite clever targeting. I just wonder whether you've got, whether 5 days is kind of that race has been and gone now. So we can sort of move on.
I have, like, having not doped and not knowing anyone that's doped, I don't really know, but my instinct, even maybe you have a NAF race and you think, oh crap, I've got to do something here to get myself back to 2. Yeah, that is pure speculation for me, because I've, like I said, never done it and not spoken to her. But the targeted, what I love is the sophistication of the AIU to give themselves, as Katie was just articulating, give themselves an opportunity to slap a 3-year ban for what is essentially suspicious behaviour. But look, and I love it. I love that you don't have to find that testosterone in her rucksack or in her cupboard. You don't have to, because you've got her taking something that you said you're not allowed to take. And it's just like, yes.
But can I ask though, Hannah, so it was suspicious that Ruth Chepng'etich ran a really, by her standards, crap half marathon in Lisbon. Is it more or less suspicious if she just continued to run well?
I don't think that's. I think a lot of people are obsessing over this Lisbon, whatever it was, 69 or 66. Whatever. You could be on your period. You could have food poisoning. You could a lot of people are sort of obsessing over this, the significance of that race, and I don't think that. I think the targeted testing from AIU, I don't think had anything to do with the results. I think it had to do with what patterns they were seeing already. I don't think the race. Yeah, I
get that point. I mean, just generally, like, just theorizing, like, if would you be less suspicious if it was actually a really good time? If she'd run, I don't know.
I don't know. I think unfortunately 2:09 just hits peak suspicion. Full stop. I don't think about anything else she'd done for if she released some 15 episode YouTube vlog of how hard she trained, I'd still be suspicious.
The other thing to maybe bring into this conversation now, and I say this knowing that she has been banned and she has been found guilty of something here. But Hannah, you sort of touched on the education side of things and how much support and guidance you were given as an athlete based in the UK, of course. Is there, or are there, maybe leniency is too strong a word, but at least questions to be asked around what is happening in Kenya, the numbers of these positive tests and bans that we're seeing, and about whether all of these athletes potentially like knowingly doing this or being forced into doing it, or are part of something wider that is not necessarily always in their control?
It's massively multifaceted, and I think you have to look at that education thing. There's a story recently about the guy that went and picked up EPO in Kenya and didn't even realise what he was. He said he didn't even realise what he was doing.
I was going to ask you that, Hannah. Have you been? You've trained in Kenya a lot. I've not been to Kenya. Have you been into a pharmacy before? Have you seen that, how easy it is? No, I just
I wondered
whether.
stuff,
No, I just wondered whether you'd
took
seen.
My own. I'm and paracetamol for the record. And hydration tablets.
You're listening. They can go back in time.
They're going anywhere.
I know. I was just wondering whether you'd literally been in a pharmacy and could see like how easy that would be.
I wouldn't even want to be seen walking into one because I'd heard rumours there's stuff in there, and I wouldn't even want to. You know what I mean? And like, it would be. But again, I was very lucky. I was there supported as a British athletics camp, and I would never need to go. I would never need to do that. And but if you're there from a smaller nation, you're there on your own. You would have to. You know, it's circumstance and. And I think the other really big one for me is culturally, you know, if someone in Britain cheats, they're crucified for it, and that plays a big part in the choices that athletes make. And you go to other parts of the world, and they're trying to help give their family a better life, or there's not that, or there's just a sense of pride of the achievement, and people don't necessarily pay attention to the consequences if it all goes. There's so many nuances that go into why people dope. And it is really hard because I don't want to have sympathy and I don't want to, but
do you think in Kenya
are
they not held up as kind of like traitors and pariahs if they do dope? Like I genuinely don't know what the reaction is.
My perception is they are, but that if they've I've seen pretty like abject poverty out there when I was training, and it's kind of you can't necessarily judge someone for going to win 10k 20k in a road race that then changes the trajectory of their whole immediate and extended family's prospects. Like it's really hard. It's really hard to relate to that, and it's again like not endorsing it, but again you can see that the threshold as you do it here, like my earning potential if I was caught as a drugs cheat would be totally broken, totally blown apart. It's as an athlete or even in any walk of life, like it's not like having a criminal record. Obviously, it's not as close in the UK. There are some other countries that make it a criminal record, but it's different around the world, and it's so complicated. Yeah, it's really complicated.
The big issue is obviously the fact that this world record still stands, and until there's a reason to take it away, that is going to be hanging over this sport for a long time.
You can't take it away unless they've
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. As things stand,
it doesn't matter how much you want to join. We can join dots between different text messages.
No, but AI. This is what I mean. The AIU could find a way to join the dots and find, and there could be wrongdoing in there. And at the moment, as things stand, there is no evidence that there is no decision that's been made to sort of punish her on that. So we wait and see. But just the point is, at the moment, that world record does still stand, and it will hang over the sport. And there are some other questionable records in athletics that unfortunately have hung around for a very long time with a great deal of suspicion. And it's just like, I just feel this is a big moment, I think, over this next few months, a year, however long it might take.
Will you feel sort of? I mean, it's really hard because I think from what I've seen from this case, and again, it's my opinion. Like, I'd be pretty certain that there was something dodgy going on when she ran that 2.9. And if that, I will feel a bit let down if I can't get some confidence in that. If it's not either erased or I'm given some confidence. I'm given some evidence to say she was not taking anything until this point. But
do we trust the AIU, I think, because I think the setup now is, it's what it was before and what it is now leagues apart, in terms of how this organization is going after athletes and how they're cleaning up the sport. And we've heard, haven't we, quite a few athletes. I think we mentioned it before, but Jimmy Gressier actually thanked the AIU after winning gold in Tokyo for helping to clean up the sport. And there's clearly an appreciation that a lot of work's being done, and more work than ever before. Something's working, and we need to trust the process in terms of this. I know we've got a lot to talk about other points, but can we just get your opinion, I guess both of you, on Federico Rosa? Because the track record is just very concerning. I'm sure we're talking ourselves out of any potential guests on the podcast that are represented by him. But I just wonder, I just wonder what you think about. You can list so many athletes who have fallen foul of the doping rules that are under his in his stable. And Hannah, I sort of wonder from like an athlete point of view, I don't think we really understand how much involvement an athlete can have in someone's career. I mean, in terms of different sports, it all varies, because you can be part of a team setup, or sometimes you don't really need an agent so much for your sort of sporting needs and more for your commercial needs. And I know he's got a reputation for getting people into races and big races, right? So, and for some reason, that continues to be the case no matter what happens. Can you tell us how involved an agent is at that kind of level, and also your reason then why is his stable so big? And what should happen next?
I wouldn't be able to tell you concretely like the rankings of how many cases, the frequency of cases per agent. I wouldn't know. Like I would be interested, and but it varies from athlete to athlete, because you talk about like managers. Manager, that's, you kind of feel like they're involved a bit more in your life versus an agent. Like, I think traditionally your agent would just be getting you in races, and negotiating a kit contract, and that's kind of it. Like if you might have an agent that comes in and says, you know what, I think you could really benefit from working with a coach. Like, I've got a relationship with a coach. Let's steer you this way. I think this is what you need for the next stage of your career. There can be some sort of guidance like that as well. And traditionally, there have been agents that have gone into places like Kenya and really tried to steer those athletes towards specific training camps. And with that comes, do you then go see a specific doctor? Do you then go and do stuff? And what the issue we have at the moment is the lack of responsibility with the agent with this thing. They can just turn around and say, I had no idea. And there's a whole spectrum there if they genuinely have no idea, that they didn't bother even asking. Like where's the spectrum
what you
between
don't
genuinely
know,
not having an idea?
Yeah, what you know, no,
exactly. Turning a blind eye. And there's a lot of suspicion around certain agents and people that are practitioners or people in our sport that either facilitate it or turn a blind eye.
Yeah, but
I'm just going to say, if I don't know, no one can criticize me, rather than having a responsibility for feeling a responsibility.
He can't ignore the narrative, though. I mean, so why?
But there's no
the
at
silence
the moment,
is just
what they're working on. What they're working on at AIU is, what are the consequences for an agent? Is it a fine? Is it a ban? Once you have a certain number of athletes with sanctions, are you banned? Do you have to go and sit out for a year yourself?
Yeah,
what level of fine would actually make you go and?
But what would that do? Because it's not just Federico Rosa; it's Federico Rosa and his team of it's not, an agent usually doesn't work completely on their own. There's
you don't
people
know,
around them.
But also, I think if your agency is based off your name and you are the I was going to say the leader, the boss, like, you have to take ultimate responsibility. That's how it would work in any company. And I just think we can't underestimate the welfare aspect that they do have, like whether they
don't have a responsibility for that though.
No,
they should, but they don't. Yeah.
But I think they do in a way, though. Do you not think? Because
they should, but they don't. But there's no. You're just saying, I'm buying a plane ticket for that person, negotiating a competitive appearance fee, taking a cut of their prize money. You don't worry about whether they're homesick, whether they're you don't have a work. It's not like it's not like you're employed.
Some agents will have more of a relationship like that with athletes, and therefore I think it's completely dismissive to say that they have no impact or steer on how athletes might make choices, particularly those, as we've said, from backgrounds where that a £6,000 race prize money could be absolutely life-changing. They're so exploitable. I think that is quite worrying. And I think if we, just your point there, that they are not responsible, if we completely act like that, if the AIU acts like that, if we don't take into account that there's nuances within how they can behave and how they can lead athletes in a certain way, then we're giving them too much power.
And I think I love the introduction of they've really tightened up the bans on coaches and physios and masseuses and doctors and all that. Said, you are banned from the sport. They hand out the same sort of bans 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. But at the moment, that doesn't happen. I don't think that happens to agents. It's like trying to take that out to agents, and there is a drive to do that, and there is a motivation. But it's like, what do you? Yeah, do you incentivize with? Yeah, do you disincentivize with that? Because at the moment they're just incentivized. They're just getting their 15-20%.
And with Rosa, they have the big ones. They can have deals with sporting companies as well.
Yeah,
because there's a Rosa Nike kit. I mean, it's. Yeah. I mean, I just think
but no, it needs to be like I would love it if it's like you don't need to kind of investigate where did you facilitate this. It's just a blanket. If an athlete is banned, you are fined. Whatever it is, 40 grand, 50k, whatever it needs to be to make you concerned about checking your athletes rather than just thinking you can turn a blind eye.
Yeah. And I think now we just need to, I think we should move on, shouldn't we, to some more happier stuff and exciting stuff. But I think from now, you let the AIU do their work. It's obviously unreasonable to expect a commentary on how they're doing. And we wait and see, but the work that they're doing seems to be pretty good, and
fantastic.
We wait to see if anything else comes out of this. But yeah, doing some great work. So
should we talk about some marathons and half marathons?
Yeah. So we're going to get into our New York City Marathon preview in a minute. There's quite a lot to talk about for that because it's really, really exciting, isn't it? But
yes,
there's some results to talk about as well.
Yes, and I was just thinking about who we'd been speaking to recently who's racing in New York City, and I just got excited because it's great.
It's a great interview.
That hasn't gone out yet, has it?
No, it hasn't. No.
Cool. No, you have to wait and see.
That'll be out this week.
Right.
Yeah.
Should we touch on things that have happened over the last couple of days? So we've had Frankfurt Marathon, Valencia Half as well. Was that the one that Alex Yee was running? Yes, it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So third Brit home, wasn't he, in the half?
Yeah, Frankfurt. I mean, it wasn't an incredible race. Sometimes you can get some big names that are there. We didn't have any big names there. Abby Donnelly went 7th all time in the UK.
Woohoo!
With a 2:24. That's just her second marathon.
You genuinely couldn't meet a nicer girl.
Apart from
really?
me.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, apart from Katie Smith.
Sadly, my running doesn't quite much.
Yeah. Sadly, if you pull out a 2:24.11, then no. But
then we talk.
Yeah, Abby Donnelly, is sort of one of these people that's phenomenal at cross country, and you always wonder whether it's going to transfer to the roads. And it's not been like the smooth, but I feel like it's been a really calculated move from her. Taking those opportunities when they're exactly right. And 2:24.11 is very exciting.
Yeah. And then in Valencia, before we get to the Brits, there was there's some really good stories from this. First of all, in the women's race, very close to world record again for Agnes Ngetich. She tried recently. She just missed out, and she just missed out this time by 15 seconds. So she was also been in Tokyo recently. She's been at the World Championships in the 10,000 meters. She was closer last year to get a world record than this year. 12 seconds last year, 15 seconds out from December Gidey's world records. She remains the only sub-63 woman in history. But Ngetich pretty close.
Wasn't there conditions? But everyone was saying, if you go on social media and everyone's reports that raced it, they all said the last few Ks was hard into the wind. There were a lot of people on for a fast time that then struggled. Yeah. So that's pretty exciting from Ngetich to be that close in not ideal conditions. And the quotes
are that she feels like she can do it. So she doesn't feel too far away. She's obviously not far away. And, that's obviously her push. So Ngetich, very impressive. And then Newman and Katie, who, again, I stand up for every single time. I feel like he's
my God.
another one of our underrated athletes. Won again, 58.02. And it just feels like that sort of becoming a marathon specialist might be the way forward.
I would just like to put in a word for my guy that I think maybe I was, slightly doubtful of his pedigree on the track, but I am excited to see what he can do on the roads.
And did you see his comments about?
No, I am. No, I am. Because he's a former world record holder in the half marathon.
Me believing in that.
No, I don't believe you. No.
Did you see his comments about Kip Limo's world record?
No.
In the half marathon, he said in the press conference afterwards, "If you put me behind a car, I'd break 57."
Ooh.
And I went reading into this. And so Jacob Kiplimo's 56, whatever, hasn't been ratified yet.
Not yet.
And there was this rumour mill going that it's not been ratified because he was too close behind a car.
Right.
And he might
The
have been
lead car.
drafting.
So the lead car was too close to him.
Yeah.
It'd be the other way around, wouldn't it?
You're right. But yeah, you're not going to go like, I'll just slow down. Yeah. Like, because obviously you see little bits of that in Tour de France, don't you? When someone drops off and they're getting a bit too much help from a team car or like this, that, and the other.
It's technically sort of allowed, I think, if you're like getting back to the peloton, isn't it? You can kind
you're
of
not.
draft your way back. Yeah.
But yeah, it was a pretty thinly veiled dig from Kjellcha that if you put me behind a car, I'd break 57. And so his record's been ratified already. Kiplimo's hasn't yet.
Yeah, the official world record holder actually at the moment is Jomov Kjellcha.
Yeah, how'd you like that, Katie Smith?
Well, I think that is classic Kjellcha trash talk as well. Because I think he says things like that on the track and then he just never actually backs it up. So get me a Ferrari, let's go, I'll drive.
No, you need like a big pickup truck, like
to block everything.
like a van. A van with a sail on it. No, I was not aware of that. Yeah, like I say, this is I sort of followed the thread last night, so I'll try and keep an eye on it, keep you updated. Tenuous news with Hannah England. It's my specialty.
What a year it has been for Andreas Almgren.
Mm-hmm.
So he broke the European record, 58.41, first ever European to go sub 59. And he has just had an incredible year, hasn't he? I think he's 11. Where is he on the all-time list? I'll have a look at that. But I mean, he also has the 10K European record on the roads, which is very impressive. And I think, were you present, Hannah, at the Diamond League meeting?
I wasn't at Stockholm.
Oh, sorry, you weren't at Stockholm.
I know.
Sorry about that.
But,
I thought I was going to round the circle, finish it all off very nicely. I can't keep track of when you're. So he's got
good
now
bet that I might have been.
So he's now got European records this year in the half marathon now, in the 10K also in Valencia. That was in January. And in the 5,000 meters on the track in Stockholm. So 3 European records.
And the world bronze.
And a world bronze.
In there for
and
fun.
I just don't think anyone talks about him.
So I have two Almgren comments for you. He's Europe's answer to Conor Mantz, because he spent the last few weeks saying he was going to do this and then he did it. And also, Rich and I had a discussion last week about time off and what people do in their breaks. And I kind of said, I think there's a spectrum that the more power-based you are, the more you totally just check out of being an athlete and you really let yourself kind of chill out and come back. Whereas the endurance runners just can't help themselves. They're just like, oh, well, I'll just jog every other day and call it a break, So Almgren clearly did not have a big kind of post-season relax and switch off if he can come straight back, at the end of October, 5 weeks from Tokyo and smash a European record. So I think you're right, Rich. He is underrated. And I loved the fact he said he was going to do it. Not ideal conditions, still absolutely smashed it.
He's 30. Did you know that? I thought he was a bit younger for some reason, but maybe that's
because he's done every distance, isn't he? He started as a 60-meter sprinter. He's got UTMB to do next year. Heard it here first. Tenuous news.
Fake news, I think we're going to start calling that.
Oh, sorry. There's a difference between fake and tenuous. You're right.
Not to everyone.
In terms of the Brits, it was all involved in like a bit of a tear up between places 14th to, I'm just trying to see, 23rd, I think, up until Zach Mohammed. So they all basically were coming in for like a sprint finish for positions. Alex Yee 61.30. He was the third Brit home though. He was the biggest name, but third Brit home after Alfie Manthorpe and Charlie Wheeler. But he was ahead of Ben Connor and Zach Mohammed. There was only 6 seconds between Manthorpe and Connor, and 18 seconds between Manthorpe and Mohammed. So
great packing from the Brits.
I mean, they really did. They really did.
If there was a team competition, we would have wiped the floor with it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I don't think. Well, I know, looking at the social media, that Alex Yee wasn't happy with his time, so he feels like he should have maybe got closer to 61. Which would have still wouldn't put him top 10, but it would have made him the first Brit home. But he's obviously returning to Valencia in 6 weeks, 5-6 weeks for the marathon.
Yeah.
And it'd be really interesting to see how he gets
I'm wondering
on there.
who else, because Mohammed did well in Valencia. Is that Mohammed's brother? I don't know who. I haven't trawled through all the Brits that are entered for Valencia, but when you look at those guys achieving that 6 weeks out, it'd be really fun. Yeah, really fun to tune back in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
What to have that many Brits, underneath 62 is really fun. Like really, really good. Really, really. And Ben Connor as well. Like I'd love to see him get back to sort of best shape in a marathon.
Yeah. Lily Partridge 69.52 as the first Brit home on the women's side. So that's the Valencia half. Good, decent stories from that. Hannah, you're getting very excited about the cross country already. Do you want to bring us? You've put some notes in here that we should. Well, I don't think we've been following the Kenyan trials quite so closely.
You should have been. You should have been. No, but a quick side note on Almgren. Let's just hope he doesn't take a break now and he goes through to Eurocross. Nadia Batacleti committed to doing Eurocross.
Great.
Yeah. Jakob Ingebrigtsen's had his tonsils out, so please can he then commit to Eurocross, because that would make my my autumn. But World Cross Country.
Are you going to
trials,
that as well, or are you only going to Wales?
I am. It's in Portugal. Yeah, I'm going to both. Yeah. Eurocross, best. I can't recommend it as a trip enough. I know I was hyping up Silesia Diamond League. Like that's the Diamond League you should go to.
Yeah,
I think that's one of the ones. But Eurocross. Yeah, great scenes.
It's just you
great
hadn't
parties,
stopped
great
talking
atmosphere.
about Tallahassee, so I didn't realise you were going to Portugal as well.
It's a dream. It's a dream few weeks for me. But the Kenyan champ's been held super early, like 11 weeks out from the World Cross. They're a nation that dominate. So good there, and there's sort of speculation that they're picking their team too early. But then also you look at Kenya, the selectors kind of do what they want anyway. But well, I just thought it was interesting the trials were so early, and
also,
they have like a rainy
it's also
season.
the fact that you've not just gone so early, you've also quite soon after the World Championships as well.
And I don't know if it's to do with the weather. Like you can get I've been training in Kenya before in November, and it's just rain up in Eldoret and E10, and that's. But then maybe that's it. They kind of know it's not that the right time to do it, but. Yeah, Daniel Abenyo won. He's Commonwealth Games silver medalist, World Champ silver medalist. So you've got a good win there. But a lot of the big names for Kenya were missing, but maybe you wouldn't expect them to make the team anyway.
I know you want to talk about some of the younger team members across the teams, but I reckon we do that in a bit closer to the time.
Well, no, but I was just going to say, like the what you really want to look for is just the people that have made that Kenyan team on the junior side and what they've gone on to do. Like because I just thought it was interesting to get that.
You'll have your moment on the cross country.
Subscribe to
Hannah. No, the cool thing was Nico Young has said he wants to make the US team.
Mm-hmm.
And
There's
that's
growing
super
number,
excited.
isn't there?
Like that's what I'm waiting for. Who's committing to that US team on home soil?
And if you haven't heard yet, the Cole Hocker interview,
I
he wasn't ruling
out.
Yes,
he didn't rule it out.
Yeah. So go back to the feed now and listen to that. Just wanted to mark European Athletes of the Year were named. No big surprises in terms of who won it. Femke Bol and Mondo Duplantis. I think they're now the only two athletes after Mo Farah to win it 3 times. And Audrey Vero got the Rising Star Award. So that was over the weekend as well. But look, we're already at 50 minutes or so. We need to get into the New York City Marathon preview, don't we? I think, this is the last major of the year. There's not the last big race of the year because we've got Valencia coming up as well. But the initial elite field that was named was pretty exciting. And the additions that we've had in the past few weeks and months as well are almost just as exciting. So where do you guys want to start? Do you want to go with the women or the men?
Women.
Ooh, women, please.
Let's start with the women then. So I guess now's the point to say that in the next few days we'll be dropping a interview with Sharon Lokedi. It's a great listen. She was so much fun.
I loved it. I loved the slightly less traditional route into you think you'd know what the narrative would be and what the storyline would be for a Kenyan endurance runner, and just to hear a slightly different perspective. I loved it. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, and to hear about her life sort of in Kenya and in the States, I feel like you learn so much about her, and also her talking about Helena Berry and that rivalry. It's just
this is it. So it continues again. So Helena Berry is in this race. We've got Sifan Hassan in there as well. We've got a former world champion in Gatotom Gabriselassie. Sheila Chepng'etich is in there too. It's a deep field, but if we focus, I think, on those big three, We should also say that as well, Agnes Colgan has scratched because she's ill. She's been ill recently, hasn't been able to get the long runs in.
I love the quote. I'm certainly not the sort of person to turn up for a paycheck. Like, that's pretty, I don't know. Like, I kind of like.
Is that a dig at someone?
No, but it's like we were scared, when we were talking about saying I was going to butcher her first name and now I've totally lost her name. That ran 2:51 in Chicago.
Oh,
Taye. Yeah. And we're sort of, you guys were all go romantic about it, and I was like, paycheck.
Yeah.
Like, no, but I think it's good to cast light on the financial side of the sport, and fair play to Eilish for saying, I'm not motivated by that. I'm motivated by trying to run well.
No. Yeah, fair play.
So first of all, let's talk about Katie against Iberi. So they've had these sort of ding-dong battles, which Iberi basically was coming out on top of most of the time. But Sharon Katie finally beat Iberi again in Boston. Iberi leads the head-to-head 8-2.
Oh, that's pretty damning, isn't it?
It is, but Lacatie's the one. Okay. The last one was Lacati, and she sort of outkicked her, and that's been quite hard to do for Sharon Lacati. And it's another sort of brutal course. I mean, for the Americans especially, this is like the sort of glitz and glamour, the biggest marathon, right? So you've got the Boston, which is almost basically the most prestigious. Because of its history, because it's so old, and that the uniqueness of the course, you can't even get a legit time qualifier. You have to get a time qualifier to get in, but whatever you come out with, it doesn't count.
Transfer. It's the end of the line
because it's net downhill. And New York is tough because the end of it and around Central Park is brutal. So we were romanticized about London, but I think if you think of your like a fully, I'm a marathon runner, prestigious for Boston. Yeah. I think for New York is like the big, this is the big one, and it would mean a lot, I think, for any of these athletes to win this race. But I'm interested to see if we get that showdown again. I'm sure we will. I'm sure there'll be Sifan Hassan in there as well, which would be really interesting. But this is also the scene for Lacati of her first ever marathon victory. She got that in 2022 and had been sort of floating through the sport. She goes into detail with that about how it all sort of clicked for her. Iberi, though, I just think she's just tactically very, very good. And she seems to nail that. And when you put that against Sifan Hassan, who is still relatively new to marathon running. I know she's been incredible since making her debut. But I just wonder, I mean, if it comes down to tear up, it comes down to a tear up, and let's just see how it goes. And Sifan Hassan may quite happily just stick on whatever everyone else is doing.
Do you think Hassan, if we're looking at the last 12, 14 months, she's really starting to get really big frequency? And do you think she's going to be tired? It's not that long since Sydney, and that was hard. And she said she was tired at the end and that she didn't get it right. No. It's not a massive recovery window from Sydney to here, is it?
It's not massive, but I don't think end of August. So it's quite a while. We've got
it's 2 months.
I know, but we've got some who have been racing since the World Championship Marathon, which is another month.
But I wouldn't be expecting them.
On.
I wouldn't be expecting them to win. I wouldn't be picking them to win. I'd be saying you're taking part.
I'm really interested to see how it goes here. I'm really interested to see how it goes here because the New York Marathon is not a race with pacemakers.
True.
So she's got her wins from Chicago and London and Sydney now as well. It's also the latest marathon major. That was a tricky course, and she'd answered some questions about whether she can handle the slightly more up and down courses. Sydney is probably the hardest out of all of the 7. New York is tough, but Sydney is tougher. And also, obviously, what she did in the Olympics as well in Paris, which was a very, very tough course too. She only needs to do Berlin and Boston after these two to complete the set in terms of the majors, and then come back to the track. Yeah, maybe. You wonder whether that's surely what she's going to be targeting next year, is doing those. Surely we'll see her in Boston and in Berlin.
Surely that'd be like the quickest ticking off of all the world marathon
must be. Well, because Kipchoge's
only... Paula trying to do it. Paula Radcliffe was still trying to do it last year, wasn't there? A couple
Elliot Kipchoge's doing it this year, this week. I mean, it's taking him that long to do it. So yes, Sifan Hassan will just be floating through if she can do that. But you're right. I think it's interesting that in London she was poor by her standards. She came, third, didn't she? which is obviously still a good result. But in terms of her time, she admitted afterwards, didn't she, that she was undercooked. That maybe she was like, all these other girls had done halves and other tune-ups, and I've kind of not really done as much as everyone else. In Sydney, she looked good. She looked back to her best, but she again, the classic Sifan Hassan interview we get at the end of just she completely acknowledged that she messed up the end of the race, and that she was in danger, I think, if that was another mile longer, of just completely breaking down. She went a bit too early, put the pace on a bit too early, and suffered, and was really struggling at the end. I mean, she was hurting. She'd opened up too big a gap anyway, so you could say actually you got it spot on, but from her point of view, it was too hard. So I just wonder whether she might let Katie and Abiri do the work, because we've heard, haven't we? Katie and Abiri could talk to each other and formulate a plan to try and get Hassan out of this race.
No, and I love the story of Katie when she won, that she dropped way back. A few years ago, you do see people in the closing stages of New York get dropped at mile 21, 22. But if they get it right through Central Park, through those rolling last few miles, they can get back on it. And that's what Hassan did when she won in London. Is that she was back off it?
Yeah.
I don't know. It'd be all right if I feel like. But I'm worried she's kind of scarred by that Sydney thing, and then she's going to make like an emotional holdback, and then
be fine.
Not be.
She's the woman who runs.
Yeah, I think I'm backing it to be all right. If you can pull out of those kind of performances where you can just stack doing everything in Paris and then end up with winning the marathon gold, I think you could probably have a 6 week.
This is like when I
break between races.
This is like when I claimed that there's no way Faith Kipyegon was going to be stressed out about this sub 4, because she's a triple Olympic champion, and then she lined up and I was like, oh no, she is stressed.
Yeah, so I was like, I think she'll be a bit overawed, and you're like,
whatever,
fool.
Do you know what about Hassan as well? I think she's answered like any questions about how good she is as a marathoner, because she's ticked so many boxes. She ran Chicago fast in 2:13.44. She has won in trickier conditions. She's won on the biggest of stages. And you look at some other athletes, so she's ticked all those boxes. Where you look at someone like Katie and Abiri, who finished very, very strongly, who are tactically very astute, and you look at their PBs, they're not like that impressive. They're not even sub 220s. Because they pick the tougher races, the sort of championship like races. So I think we can genuinely look at this as being a
go on
potential.
Then commit, Rich. 1, 2, 3. What's it going to be?
Well, you've got to also put in the likes of Chepng'etich. Because Chepng'etich also comes into this with form. She won the Great North Run, didn't she? Is that right? Yes, she did. She won the Great North Run, and she also won the Nagoya Women's Marathon this year. And the Great North Run were pretty terrible conditions. I remember we were doing a commentary, weren't we, Hannah? I think it was just about to do the Beijing, and we were watching the end of it, and it was like windy and rainy and just like completely unseasonable classic UK weather. So she managed to get through that. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, go on. Just check through, make you want to,
buying himself some time.
You could throw him up in the air and just
do it
come
then.
Back with
do it so
we
can celebrate or take the piss out of you next week.
Yeah.
Okay. I think all three of them will be there at the end. As in Hassan, Katie, and Abiri. I think Abiri will win it ahead of Hassan, maybe Katie third.
Cool.
Which I didn't really want to say because of
emotionally, we'd like Katie to win because she gave us a wonderful interview and it was really nice to get to know her.
Before we move on to the men, though, Hannah, especially you, I guess, because you've been around, you would have been around her, but the mention for Jess Warner-Judds, because she's making her marathon debut, and her, I think you've mentioned her before, haven't you, about her insane range?
Yeah,
I mean, she started as an 800 meter runner.
159 back in 2013.
Oh, that feels so long ago.
Yeah, she was like a youth prodigy over 800, and then it's just gone literally that classic plot every distance all the way up. And she said she wants to do. She's excited by New York because of it being not a super quick course. So it takes that time pressure away and she can just race it. She said that was one of the things that she thought she'd have a lower key debut, but actually she thinks this could be a really fun debut. And Jess, she's had some big health problems over the last couple of years with epileptic fits, and trying to get to grips with that and figure out how to train alongside that and get a full diagnosis. And she's finished her PhD. So it's been a big few years for Jess Warner-Judd, and I think her making a start line of this is tremendous. And I think she could have a great future in the marathon. I don't know what will happen on the debut though. You never do.
And we mentioned about Eilish already, but she it sounds like she's trying to get in another race. Whether she's going to end up rocking up in Valencia, that's possible, isn't it? I think in December. Right. It sounds like maybe she's not that far back from her training, but just was a bit too far behind when it came to New York. Just ran out of a bit of time, I think. So if we move on to the men, I wonder, are you more interested about Kipchoge against Bekele or who's going to win the race? Because it's very unlikely to be Kipchoge or Bekele, as we've seen recently.
I think who's going to win the race? I love the pair of them. Absolutely iconic. Previous winners of the World Junior Cross Country, which you didn't let me talk about.
For more little tidbits, subscribe to Hannah England's newsletter. What did we say it was called?
Cross country.
No, what was
tedious?
It?
No, tenuous.
Tenuous and tedious.
Well, the irony being that as an athlete, I hated doing cross country, but I now love spectating it. Those two, I will be intrigued. Yeah, intrigued.
How far back do we think they will be off the pace?
I think
also like writing either of them off is like I'm being a bit unkind really, talking about the fact that they won't be contenders, because obviously we saw that Kenenisa Bekele last year in London had a decent race, and he's 43 now. Kipchoge's also in the 40s. I just wonder if, I mean, we've talked, Eliud Kipchoge's spoken, he started to be, he doesn't say that much when he says anything in interviews, but it feels like he's winding down now and he's sort of ticking off boxes. Like we said, this is the last major that he has not raced. It was a surprise seeing him in Sydney. He was 9th there. But he's still putting a 2:05 this year in London. That's not, I mean, compare that to what he's achieved in the past. It's nothing like what we know Kipchoge can do. He is, from a men's side, the greatest of all time. He is a former world record holder. He's the only one that's gone under 2 hours. But I just think do we think maybe this is his last marathon? He says he's got nothing to prove, completes the set. And I just wonder, I just wonder whether Kenenisa Bekele, I think, was meant to be in Valencia, and he was added to the lineup in the last week. And he's not raced since the Paris Olympics, by the way. I just think it's almost like getting that old band back together to have a really good, to just
rematch of the World Junior Cross Country. You need Haile Gebrselassie in there.
Gotta drop this.
I don't know. I think there would be. I can imagine.
I don't think you do a stealth. Yeah.
I think he's.
But there might be.
Is that what he's like though?
I think a little bit. I think,
There's no way you do a stealth. There's no way you do a stealth backing
but where
out
do you? But then where would you?
I know what you were saying. This could be a fantastic send off. It could, and if it is, but
he doesn't need to. If he's enjoying it, he doesn't need to stop. We just need, but it's just more about whether we stop talking about him as like contenders.
Okay, it's our sign off.
I just think, because I think what I'm sort of fascinated by is like as a sort of sub narrative to this is the Masters world record. So they're both in their 40s now. Kenenisa Bekele has that
Hannah's
Masters.
Obsessed with the juniors. You're obsessed with the oldies.
He has the 2:04.15 that he set in London last year as a Masters world record.
They'll never retire if they keep taking it off each other.
But I'd love to see it. I don't mind.
So good.
Well, so right, you were saying how it's really hard to give the women's race good footage to get the cameras on them and catch the break. We're now going to miss that because you're hyping up a marathon, a Masters record between. You're going to redirect a camera to Kipchoge and Bekele and the marathon, the Masters record instead.
Yeah. But they've been going on for so long. They've been going on for, don't say it again, Hannah, but they've been going on for, their rivalry's been going on for so long. Their head-to-head is Bekele leads 16 wins to 9 over Kipchoge, but Kipchoge's got he's kind of got, in theory, a perfect record over Kenenisa Bekele, because he leads Bekele 4-1, but the 1 for Bekele is only because Kipchoge didn't finish.
You're talking about
the
over
Paris
marathons
Olympics.
there.
Over marathons, yeah. So, but altogether, Bekele leads. But Kipchoge has never been beaten in a race to the finish by Kenenisa Bekele. So anyway, that's going to be interesting. But you're right. The problem is maybe we'll be so distracted by what these two are doing that we'll miss what's going on at the front of the men's race and what's going on in the women's race. But some of the leading contenders, we were due to have the world champion, Alphonse Simbu, here, but he's pulled out. I wonder whether we'll see him in Valencia. Benson Kipruto is there. He's not had a brilliant year, so he needs a good race. Alex Mattiso is a sort of unfashionable name, but he's already proved that he can win races. He won London. He's a former London marathon winner. And again, if we're talking about Chip Karui in the women's race, winning the Great North Run and coming into this reform, then we have to say the same thing about Alex Mattiso, because he also won the Great North Run again, bad conditions, and he did that in 61, just under. And the other thing to watch out for, because I think he's just starting to really, I don't know, take him out. He's been around the marathons a lot, always in the leading packs. But last year, Abdi Ngetich won the New York Marathon.
Mm-hmm.
That was a really big moment for him.
Was that after DNFing, or did he just have a rough one in Paris? Because he was a medalist in Tokyo and Sapporo, and then it's really struggled in Paris. I think he did finish, but struggled, and it was a wonderful comeback, kind of bounce back. From Ngetich.
So he finished. So he's reigning champion in New York. He knows he can do it now. He finished 4th in London, set a new national record as well. I'm not saying necessarily he does it here, but his PB is 2:04:20. The European record, which was set by
his former training partner, Bashir Abdi. Yeah, there's some good bragging rights there.
Yeah, that's lasted for the last 4 years. That's 2:03:36, and he would think maybe that's within his reach.
But then it will get broken by Almgren in Valencia.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Almgren will go and do it. And debuts for Paddy Diva, did a really good job in the Chicago pace-making team. He's one of the only ones that could actually, that's also sort of sticking with the pace. They were dropping off quite quickly. So he could do a good job there. I don't know, how much do you think he gets sort of the respect that he deserves in terms of what he's achieved coming through Paddy Diva? Because obviously he's one of those that's come through in the US, so maybe we haven't seen him race as much in the UK.
I think it's a visibility UK wise that he just because he's based and trains over in the States. He's not one of those faces you just see churned out regularly at meets, and I think also that commitment to the marathon, your frequency in racing goes down as well. So he hasn't built much of a sort of awareness, which hopefully will change. I think he got good publicity when he won NCAs. Everyone gets excited about Brits winning the American Collegiate Champs, and then he's gone kind of all in on the marathon. It's just taken, but this could be a kind of unveiling for Paddy Diva.
Yeah. Did you want us to say something about your NCAA record?
No, if you want to give me more time, I'll talk about the World Junior Cross Country results and how anyone who's anyone has won one of them.
So I think that's kind of it for just sort of going through our predictions. So I don't who's going to win the men's side. Then?
Yeah, go on. I think I like Benson Kipruto. Because he's got the history of winning them, but he hasn't won one for a while. So I kind of think would be kind of hungry to get a world marathon major again.
Ngetich retaining the title, but then Mattiso. I'm going to go for Ngetich over Mattiso.
Okay, nice.
So
in a European record.
No, because it's not a fast enough course. But I mean, if he does it, then amazing. But I don't think that he's going to do the European record this time. I'm just saying that's definitely one to watch out for, I think, over the next few months. And we talked about Simbu because obviously he pulled out of New York.
The guy you wish you'd put money on for world champs because you knew he was going to win. Really, how much money would you have made? If you look back at what the odds were,
I don't want to know.
I
don't want to know. But Amanal Petros is actually going to be in Valencia, and I just we'd love to see it.
He'd get European record.
Yeah, we'd love to see it again, though, wouldn't we? Those two go head to head again before the end of the year. So that's New York, and we'll obviously bring you the proper review of that next week.
I just wanted to mention Luvo Manyonga as well before we end. You see, he's jumped over 8 meters this week.
Yay! Woo!
We like Luvo. Right. Okay. Well, wasn't quite as excited as I was. We've got a new
that is very cool.
Okay, right, let's go after 3. Ready? We've got a new website. Yay!
Yay! More excited, less excited than the 8 meters.
We're growing up.
We're so mature now.
Yeah.
So developed.
Go and I don't know, what do you do on a website?
Look at it.
Scroll, surf.
Look at it.
Yeah. So on this new website we've got. It pulls in all of our podcasts and YouTube videos as well, so you can choose them one place to listen or watch. We'd still rather you listened on Apple Podcasts or Spotify if you could, please. That'd be great for our numbers. It's easier to track.
Well, more important, the best thing about the website, which I've got very excited about, is that you can leave us a voice note.
You are excited about
it.
it.
I literally was like, what's the little, why is there a microphone icon?
Should we tell them what their website address is?
Yeah, it's probably more important than that.
podiumathletics.co.uk. So that's it. Just podiumathletics.co.uk. And yeah, check it out. I think it's we'll bring you some more stuff on there when we eventually get some time to do more on it. But it's
when
got all
Rich's daughter isn't attacking a cat, my daughter's not.
Maybe we could
everywhere.
upload some Zeusy Boosy pics on there, just so everyone can see
just a dedicated page.
I'd love
just
that.
at the top, Zeusy Boosy.
Oh, that's really why I'm here, to be honest. Right, so next episode, we've got Sharon and Kelly in conversation with us ahead of New York. It's a really great chat, so don't miss that one. Otherwise, I think bye from all of us. We'll see you later.